All right. Well, yeah, excited to be into this part of our summer and our turned season. As he mentioned, I already have several of my people sites that I work with that are already in turn. So you're probably not on this call if that's you. But anyways, excited to kind of get into this and really just kind of show you all the tools that, like Chase mentioned, that we utilize to kind of gauge success, right? And every measuring stick is different, right? Well, I guess that doesn't really make sense. Metric, standard, anyways, we're going to get into this first kind of overview here of what we're going to be getting into. I'm going to be looking at the portfolio auditing and damages. And as Chase mentioned, this is all from the portfolio level. So it's just a great way to monitor multiple sites. So I'll do that, and then Corey will come in and handle the rest of it, the term project monitoring, and the new survey feature that he mentioned before. So we're going to kind of get in here, and I want you to take the perspective of this one as being the pre-turn auditing, okay? And so some of you are already there, but some of you, it's a great time to do some last-minute pre-turn auditing within the system. So obviously, as it says here, just ensuring operational success across multiple sites. And as anyone who's ever been a regional or been responsible for multiple sites, you know that it's impossible to give all your time to every site. So a lot of this information can be used to give the site that is kind of popping off the screen. As I kind of go through here and show you how the analytics pull, you'll be able to identify what sites need your help. It might be all of them, but somebody will probably need it more than others. So again, we like to do that. And then see the overview, find that exact site there that has a need, and then be able to see those updates daily. Some people will start off kind of weak and finish stronger. You'll see all that through our system as well. So as we get into here, I'm going to start off with this. This is a feature very specifically copying what we had. We had some tools that we had built specifically around our weekly audits. So we always ran weekly audits during turn of our customers, and we mainly focus on things like percentage growth. Are we trending up or are we trending down, right? So this is an example right here of a site or an organization, and by organization across their properties we carry certain analytics, and as they get better, some of these are total damages, move out inspections, total complete inspection units. You can see them on here, and you'll see them as well in the system. So to get to this portion, you're going to go to EasyFolio, and then in the bottom left, I believe it's 3 icons up. You're going to click in, and I know that's not right because we added some more, maybe about 4 or 5 up, but it's called Audits and Reports on the left side. So when you get in there, it will run weekly ones on its own. This is a newer feature. You probably only have one in here. It runs over the weekend, so you're going to have the measurement as turn goes on, and as you all get closer to turn to see if your percentages are going up. I kind of pointed out here a percentage jump for this organization in average health scores. If you've ever seen our system, we had to kind of create what we considered a basis of what a health score is. And then from there, we measure different things within that number as a whole. So again, I always tell people, maybe you're not using the entirety of the system that we have. So your peak score might only be a 75 based on what you're using. So take it with a grain of salt. We're definitely not here to judge you, based off this score, but this is just something that we use, and we let you all see kind of our measuring stick with it. So there's going to have to be a curve here in the score for sure. Anyways, you're able to go in here and see them week over week. You can also click to generate it if you want it day by day, but the automated one does run weekly currently. So you'll be able to see this information, again, see from one to another about how many of your properties are green, green, yellow, orange, or red. So that's that view. Now, when you click into one, this would be me clicking into, like the July 20th, for example. You would come into this view. So this is going to show you some of these analytics and this overarching analytics from that specific audit that was just ran. And these are all clickable numbers here, especially across the top, where you can go in there and click on it and see which of your properties, again, to our grading scale, are considered critical, poor, fair, or good, or excellent, of course. So again, these are measured on things like work orders being set up, vendors in the system, move out inspection done, all these synced recently, good activity. If you all don't know, we keep track of the clicks within the system. So when we see things like total monthly requests, 604,000, that's across the users as a whole that we have over that for that time frame. So anyways, that's what all these things mean. But if you were to click into good, for example here, we come up with this information. So then we get to kind of see the more specifics broken down and brought over. And these are, sortable fields here that we have to show you the request. And you can kind of easily see here, and you can see some sites that only have 4,000 clicks and some that have 21. One could know the system better than the other and probably could get it done in 4,000 clicks. And so they both are currently rated good. And maybe someone's learning and clicking around more and utilizing Lori more. And so they might have a higher request count or doing some more custom work or some things through inspections. But just so you know, those requests are every time pretty much a mouse is clicked. I want you to think about it that way. That's a request. That's a request as you go through it. So again, a great way to overview all of your sites so that you know exactly where your sites are. And eventually you're going to kind of build your own parameters, if you will, of what success looks like, right? You'll know some sites and like, okay, that site's doing well. All right, they're averaging 10,000 requests over this time frame. So I'm kind of looking for that baseline of 10,000. Maybe I'll look into more if it's under that, but you're going to kind of find out your temperature of what you like things to be. So this also shows things like your damages over the last 30 days, making sure your leases and stuff are synced. A lot of those are set to weekly now, so that's not as much to worry about. But yeah, this is a great way to kind of click in and see. And this is, again, a tool that we've used for a long time to go in there and find out which sites to kind of nudge a little bit and find out more information on. So that's the site-by-site breakdown. The next one I want to do is services. So if you remember back on this screen, I did not point out, but it says property, but it also says projects to the right of it. This is the project view. So when you go into a project one and click into it, this is different. Now we're talking projects. Before are all my sites on board? Now we're saying of the projects we have, how are we looking? What's the spread? What's going on? So now we're going into here, same deal. We're able to go through, click on a lot of these numbers to pull up a better breakdown. But down here, as you can see, across your company, we're able to see what all services are being scheduled. Okay, look, we got our maintenance, our paint, our sparkle, our clean, carpet clean, trash out, full paint. As you all know, with services, you might use different lingo based on what your contractors, kind of their levels they offer. Do you do a touch paint, full paint, whatever, right? And I always tell people, if you only have one type of paint, just call it paint. So it's easier for everybody in there. So we'll go back here. So a couple more things to point out here. Obviously, this is a great way to see too where people are at complete, behind, different things. CAI, just in case you all see that and want to know what that is. You can't pronounce it wrong because it's an acronym. So it's just CAI, complete, approved, and invoice. So that's the percentage of the work orders that are that percent, which this makes perfect sense because, they only have a couple of sites that have started or have done in-house. So this number and percent will grow over your weekly update. So it's kind of a fun thing to go in there and watch. Next we have our damage review, and we kind of brought this up. So we want to talk about damages in our system. So, damages are one of those things that the majority of our customers do utilize our damages. We work really hard on our damages to make the process as easy as possible. Always looking for any advantage we can get. Our damages, might look similar because we don't like to change the actual, user experience through all of our stuff. But we've done a lot of extra tools to go along with our standard view of capturing the damages, filtering them, and doing them. So this is an organization. So one company I know of specifically, just for some variety, some of them, the site can go all the way through to syncing them to Entrada. Other ones, they have a centralized position that will come in, and they might have 4 or 5 sites, and they will go through and monitor them. And then other ones, have their regionals go through, approve them, and sync them over to Entrada. So although this is obviously a tool built for the last two scenarios I gave, because obviously if you're just on one site, you can go to that one site and use these same tools. But for this one, you can see, as you all know, anything in eZFolio, let me stop there for a second. Any data you see in eZFolio are the accounts that you're attached to. So if you're a regional and have 5 properties, all of these things are going to be out of those 5 properties that you have, okay? So in the system, you're going to see things completely formatted to you and yourself. And if you're a corporate, you'll see everybody, you'll see all the things in the system. So again, if you're a regional who approves them, if you're in a centralized accounting that's going to go through here and mark them, you can go in here, you can drop down property by property and see what they have. You can see overall analytics of how many of each of the different statuses across the top exist. And then that little portfolio button right up here is going to be the next slide. So this will look just like it does on your regular EasyTurn, except of course you can swap through your different companies or your different sites and check up on them. As you always know, we always have filters and reports and Lori tools that help you find things like duplicates, and another tool that helps review your actual move-in inspection compared to what's being charged to see if potentially it was covered on their move-in inspection. So all that's the same. But if you were to click up here, it'll bring you a pop-up like this, and it will kind of show you this breakdown of your properties and what's happened damage-wise. So some of you all are way more uniform. Some of you all, third party, might have a wide variety of move-out dates. But for those that are all on one set date across the company, this would be pretty interesting to check a few times throughout the day for move-out day to kind of see where everyone is at and see these numbers just jump and jump and jump and jump throughout the day. So in here, you're able to do things like set a window for your date. You can obviously sort by statuses, sort by name. So you have several tools here that you're able to do to kind of see these overarching numbers. These are definitely good portfolio ones. You can, of course, apply tags here. If you all have utilized tags yet for your regionals and stuff, it's really helpful for reports. One thing you'll know about our system, obviously we love our data, but we want clean, usable data. So some of you are great at helping us find better ways to make our data cleaner and easier to digest. So we do appreciate you. But one of the things that really is helpful is having our property tags. A lot of time you'll see that all over. We really try to add property tags about anywhere you can pull a report to be able to do them. And you can have more than one tag. So you might fall under Georgia tag as well as Steve's region, right? So you could be both. But you're able to go in here and sort by that. And this particular one doesn't have a report to pull because it's just kind of 2 columns of data here anyways. But we do have a lot of places where you can sort by your tag and then and then run a report, and it will be based off of the tag that you applied. Great way to measure regions against each other, states against each other, things like that. All right, so that is what we have there on that front. And then just kind of a review of this, right? So let's talk about some trends and what's happening out there in the market. I say this a lot on my calls, but it really is true. Over the years, I've been around student housing since 2009. I lived in student housing before that, but I've been working around student housing since 2009, and it's changed a lot. And a lot of things will come, and they'll look like they're going to stick around, and they kind of fade out. This most recent thing coming out of California with this documentation and of the entire process of charging residents and stuff, it's here, and I scared to even say it, but I think this could be something that does end up rolling out across the country. So whether it stays in California or starts to really roll out across the country in a more real way, we have been proactively building out tools to really assist with this. If you're hearing this and you work with us in another capacity and you've never heard that, please reach out. We'll show you the rundown for what we're calling the California process. So we can show you some of the pre-made inspections and tools that we have for California sites. But I do know some companies are already adopting this across their company, even for the non-California ones, to, I guess, be ready if it does roll out. So we have been working a lot in this area. We've always done a really good job of documenting time slots of everything, timestamps and good documentation through our damage portion, but we are building additional tools. So again, this is something always been near and dear to me, only because I still have PTSD from doing damages on site. having no tools. And so we always want to make this better, and we've spent years doing that. And now it's a curveball. We got to make it, meet some of these statutes that exist on how we process this data and how we make it available. So we've done a lot of work in that realm as well. So next up we have here, and I'm going to let him take over, is none other than Mr. Corey James.
All right, I will go ahead and share. Like Lincoln said, thank you all for jumping in here. You can see that turn is happening because him and I are both in sport mode with our hats on and Crocs strapped on and ready to go. So what he went over is a lot of leading up to turn, and then that first step of move out inspections, looking at the damages, all that good stuff. What I'm going to go over next is going to be kind of how we're monitoring turn as it's progressing. Both from the operations side, the budget side, and then of course we'll hit that resident survey at the end here. So first thing that I always take people to is our projects page, and so you'll see over here on the left an eZfolio. You click onto there. This is the roll up of all of those daily summary reports you get each night. Where when your turn is progressing, we are reading how much work's getting done, how much work is supposed to get done, how much time we have left, rolling that into a report and sending that to you per site with our concern level, just making sure that the sites that we're worried about, about. This page provides that to you in bulk, so if you don't want to parse through those emails, you can just come right here. It's over here on the left. It's going to have your projects. It'll have your property here. We took these out. But then what it's going to have is the days remaining of the turn and the behind count. And where that's important again is these are the sites where when we run our reporting, it shows that they are not moving quick enough to get done what they have scheduled to get done. So those of you that have used this, you know that there's a medium concern and below here is a low concern. We always say that the low concern is no concern. The high concern is what we're looking at. So this page is always front facing. It's the second page there. As turn starts, you're going to want to get into here because these are going to be the sites that you need to drill down on a little bit further. These sites are clickable, so if you do click on here, you're going to be able to see the specific analytics for that site, the assigned work orders, in progress, complete, approved. That'll show you, again, the behind count on there as well to let you know what we're seeing and why we think that they may need some help, or whether you're calling them or bringing in a secondary vendor. This is where you're going to see that. We also have that same daily summary report that you get is available in the reporting over here on the right. So the main screen, if I was a regional, is going to be this one. This will roll up the information for you and let you know specifically where we probably need to focus some more of our resources. So that's that first one here. The next screen is going to be our project screen. And to get into there over in eZfolio, you're going to click into here under facilities, and then you're going to jump over to projects. And when you do that, that's going to bring you to this screen here, which I know I've showed a lot of you, which is a huge piece of information. And again, since all our information is in real time, this is kind of your screen of how is everybody doing, where are we in the process. So of course all the information across the top is things that we should know in terms of our work order statuses, the start and end date of our turn, how many work orders are scheduled, all that good stuff. We would have seen that when we were scheduling and getting ready for turn, but now the more important part is the progress as these work orders go. So you'll notice beneath each one of our work order statuses, you can sort by those. So if you do have some turns that are starting early, I'd go ahead and sort by those. You can sort by the dates if you want to, but either way, we want to watch the progress in here. The two main columns obviously being the in progress column. This is going to tell you how many work orders are in progress on that site, how many vendors are on site. So if I'm rolling through turn, I'm excited to see 13. That's, if you split that between maintenance, paint, and clean, you're looking at 3-4 a person. I'd like to see that number maybe a little higher, especially on my large turns that might have, 11, 1,300 work orders. That needs to be a little bit higher. Conversely, if I log on here and it's the first day of turn for everybody and I see 1 and 2, I'm already making phone calls. What's great about this that we've mentioned in the past is the in progress number gives us something that you've never had before, which is a view on how many crews your vendors have. They can tell you they got 4, they can tell you they have 3. You can actually see those 3 or 4 crews as they're working. Another thing that I know we mentioned on our last call, but specifically for you regionals, since you guys are kind of the front lines out there, if I get into day 1, potentially day 2, and I don't have any work orders started yet by my vendors, I've got to call then. We still have time to get them moving. The training's very simple. There's training videos for the vendors in English and Spanish on their app and on the desktop. I'm bringing them into the office, and they're going to watch that 2-3 minute video, get them logged in, and send them back out. If we get past day 3 and 4, the chances of success of the vendors using the system and us being able to track it and see what's happening declines very sharply. So those first 2 days, August 1st, August 2nd, and this is what Lincoln and I also audit as we're watching turns, is if we get to day 2 and I don't have any paints moved or any cleans moved, we're making calls. And so that's something that we really want to watch from the in progress side. The complete side, keep in mind, this is our quality control walks behind our vendors. What we don't want to see is something like this. The 221 quality control walks, my guess is those are maintenance work orders. Maintenance work orders still have to be walked. We still got to go through there, walk them, make sure they caught everything, because the problem is going to be if you don't catch things that maintenance missed on the maintenance walk, you're not gonna catch them till maybe the paint walk, but potentially the sparkle walk. And we can't be compiling a huge list of maintenance items that we didn't walk because we just let maintenance do their thing 2 days before turn when we're sparkling. So we still need to treat these maintenance walks as any other vendor walk through there. They miss a light bulb, they miss a air filter, something like that. We want to send that to them as soon as we can via the go back. But the overall goal, again, is we want to see the in progress number high. That's going to give us a lot of work that's being done currently. We want to see the complete number low. That means that our teams are walking behind the vendors as the work's getting done, either sending them on go backs back to the vendors, or they're pushing them to this next column, which is approved here. So just keep in mind, as we're watching this, these are in real time. I want to see the in progress high. I want crews on site. I want to see complete low. That means my team's out in the field doing their thing. A few other numbers that we have on here that I think are really interesting. Lincoln mentioned the CHI, that's what we call it too. Complete, approved, and invoiced work orders. That just means that the work in that unit, at least per the workers, is done. That doesn't necessarily mean that our team has walked it to approved it, but it at least means that, hey, the painter's saying they're done, cleaner's saying they're done, all that good stuff. The unit ready percentage is this next one over here. That is the number of scheduled work orders within your units that have at least reached the CHI status. So all of the work orders in those units are at least complete, approved, or invoiced. That just tells you that these units are ready. All of the work in there has been done. These should hopefully tick up, I would say, to 75, 80%, depending on your number of work orders. Just keeping in mind that this probably won't hit near 100 until your sparkle walks are done. If your teams have your sparkle walks scheduled out, those will factor into here and will add up to that 100%. Our unit scheduled percentage, the next one over, is the percentage of units on site that have at least one area that's a vacant or a transfer out or transfer in that needs turned. So that's going to give us the percentage of units that of those that have to be turned, we have at least one work order scheduled. And where this is important, and we actually have another column over here, is this will tell you if you have any units that need to be turned that haven't been assigned. Over here, you'll see there's a lot. You may catch one or two. You can reach out to the site and say, hey, I show one unit that's got a vacancy that's not assigned, what's going on with it. The other thing this will do, I did have a regional call me once and say my property turned half of their units. I had no way to know that it showed 200 work orders. I thought everything was good. They turned half their unit. I had no way to see that the others weren't scheduled without going in there. This will tell you that. We did add some analytics on the turn boards as well to tell you if there's any vacants that haven't been scheduled. But from the portfolio side, any units unassigned that you see here of your unit scheduled percentage are units that per the bed status sync with Entrada or per bed statuses that they entered, these have an area within them that need to be serviced that has not been scheduled. You can sort those as well. The bigger numbers obviously are going to be the ones that are still scheduling. These little numbers I think are probably more important because these could be an oversight that we want to catch and get with the teams on. The unit turn percentage, that's percent of units on your site that are being turned. So if it could be 60-70% depending on your renewal percentage, but that's just what that number means there. And then the number that I think is really cool at the very end is the max vendor output. So what that is that's the number of work orders per day that your busiest vendor out of just paint, clean, and carpet clean. So this one takes out maintenance or sparkle or anything like that. Just your main vendors are going to have to get done for you all to for that turn to be successful. Historically, we have seen that higher numbers over here tend to be the turns that struggle, just because basic understanding says that if I have a large number of units per day that have to get done by a vendor, I'm going to be that's going to be harder to do. The other thing that you can check on here that if it was me I would check is realistically this should probably be your carpet cleaners, especially if you schedule your carpet cleaners out to come in last 3 or 4 days when your vendors are there to knock out their 40 or 50 units a day like carpet cleaners can. If they're scheduled that way and your carpet cleaner is the high number, you can be less worried. If I click in here and it's my painter or it's my cleaner, one of those two services that take a significant amount of time, that's where I may look at that schedule a little deeper and just check and see how are we scheduled. Do we have time to add some days? Do we have a backup painter that I can knock this in half by adding a second painter? So just a cool number there. I think really cool that it isolates the specific services. It takes out your maintenance and your sparkles, and it just really drills down on your services that our contractors typically perform. Outlines their output and what we need from them to be successful. So those numbers are there. Again, everything is sortable. I know that I've hit you with a lot of numbers. So another thing that is on this screen, and I'm actually going to go back to show you, is if you are a numbers person, this is awesome. If you're not a numbers person, we've got something in there for you too. If you hit your View Analytics button right there at the top, that's going to bring you all of that information but in graph form. So we're going to have our total work orders across the top here, units, ready percentage, percentage of work orders that are on track. We've got our behind count. We definitely want that to be lower. That will include some maintenance ones. If they're not ticking up, it's not contractor specific. So we want to keep an eye on that. We've got our work order pipeline. How many are in progress, complete, approved? We show that same thing down here, and I think that that's going to be something that's really cool to watch as turn progresses. Is this essentially hopefully become a wave where this goes down, this comes up, this goes down, this comes up as they're being pushed through the process. The other thing this is going to help us catch are how many of our sites did not start any work orders. How many took the time to schedule out, did everything, and then just left it. Hopefully that number is low, but you will be able to isolate those there. And then, of course, our completion rate on our units, everything in complete, approved, and invoiced, we want that to be moving aggressively as turn goes. Our second half of this screen at the bottom has a few more graphs for you as well. Our number of units assigned, that's more of a preparation number versus where we are now. Behind versus on track, that's very important. This needs to stay as green as possible. Any that are behind, you can see where those are. We've got our units ready, which is units that everything has been to the approved status, and then our unit readiness breakdown is just going to show us what has been scheduled, where are they in the process, and the ready bar hopefully being big at the end there. So all of our numbers from the number side pushed into graph side for to make viewing it maybe a little bit easier. We also do that on there, not just with the work orders, but we do that with the budgeting, which I may have missed those slides, but if I did, it's going to have the same thing as in terms of our variances, our work through the system, but the most important one on there that when we're done here, I'll show you guys. I do have a screenshot of it. I must not have just made it a slide. Is our change order tracking. We do track your change orders in graph form as well, pending versus complete to where, or pending versus approved to where you can see from a portfolio level how many change orders have been submitted, how many have we approved, and that may be per your company. Some companies plan and budget their turns with the notion that change orders are going to come in, and they welcome them, and they're part of the budget. Others plan their turn and try to catch the change orders up front, to where when the additional costs come in, we try to keep it as low as possible. So you'll be able to kind of watch that through the budgeting modal on there, along with your work orders as we're going. So from the auditing, now we're going to jump over to the tenant move-in survey. So when your sites send a move-in inspection, and it is a reminder that can all be scheduled in advance on the desktop. We use the email addresses from Entrata, so the correct rate, I think the bounce rate's less than 0.1%, mainly because Entrata makes them do a double verification of their email address. Those can be scheduled out. Those can also be customized to the site, so where you are sending the residents the inspection items you want them to see. But once the tenants get that, they perform their inspections. We provide them at the very end with just one quick question. How was your move-in experience? Rate it 1 out of 10. They can add additional comments if they want to. They can totally skip it if they want to. None of this is required. But all of those results will come down here. This is the very bottom icon of our EasyFolio. And it will take you, once we have that, into this screen here. And so when we start having results coming in, you can filter again like usual. You can see how many move-in inspections were per site. You can filter that way. The response rate, I think, is the best filter, because that's going to bring your responses up to the top. You're going to have your ratings over here, and reporting will be on here shortly to be able to pull those ratings more so from a corporate level. Right now, you still can dig in if you want to, site by site, and look and see, okay, these were the ones that moved in. They rated us 10. Any comments? Very clean. Maintenance works great. We love that. You can also add additional questions if you want. So if you do, right now we just ask them that one question and add a comment. If the sites want to add specific questions, they can click this settings wheel up here. And that will allow them to answer or add any additional questions. You can obviously export all of this to Excel via site if you want to. And then, of course, the last thing, as we always do, is you can analyze it with Lori. And so when you do get to the point that you have hopefully 200 results per site or 300 results per site, you may not want to necessarily go through and read line by line. You can ask for a Lori roll-up analysis, and Lori will run through there, check all the responses, read the comments, put in the strengths of what that site's move-in were, put in any concerns that it finds, and then, of course, provides a recommendation at the end of, per these results, this is what we think we need to concentrate on, with the goal eventually being taking these results, rolling them into our next step, which is going to be starting to work on renewals. We're going to look at these, see who had a great experience, reach out to them. We're going to look at these, see who had concerns, reach out to them, make sure that their concerns were addressed. Sometimes these concerns are actually opportunities to over-provide customer service, and I think one of our results actually shows that, where it came in as a 6, but then the comment in the time that it came in as a 6 and they left the comment, they put in that they had already spoken to the office, they were happy with the response. Again, concern isn't necessarily something that we just push by the wayside. It's a chance for us to maybe push a little bit forward and provide additional levels of customer service. So with that, it's time to go to work. We are ready for the questions and comments portion. Chase will bring us back on. I think I did see a initial question in here of how deep can we go to the audit, and while Lincoln was talking, I actually added one more slide of that for Elizabeth. You can click on the view report on the right of any property if you want to see where the score that we gave them came from, and it'll give you this here. So it's going to give you the health score, the status, and then the kind of the criteria that we judge by, which is going to be vendor count. We need at least, I think, 2 damage types. We want at least 10. Move out inspection, we want to have one in there. Active schedule count, we want to have one in there. Total work orders, typically over 100, tells us that this turn is actually scheduled. And then, like Lincoln said, monthly requests. We want to see a decent amount of monthly requests because that shows us that they're not just logged into the system, but they're actually in the system and clicking around. So that report is available if you do want to go a little bit deeper to see what specific item is hindering their health status.
Thing too, they were kind of going through, I think, some really good data here. I can tell that they live in here, but just kind of talking about different ways to kind of check up on their sites. And absolutely, even some of the charts that Corey showed earlier with it showing the percent of what's been scheduled. And we have some numbers in there to show which ones were maybe missed. You all were talking about checking for unassigned. So literally that I will stand behind, though. The unit report, the work order report, is a fantastic tool. We tell people about it. I don't think a lot of people always use it, but the unit or the work order report is a great report. It can be pulled from that primary screen after you click on your project bar, and also can be found once you get into your schedule. But it is a great way to go through and ensure that things are scheduled in the system. And actually, as Aaron pointed out on here too, I still come across some newer users who don't quite realize it does that. But just so you all know, we love our filters, and so when you are on your schedule and you do filter by different things, it will affect the analytics that go across the top. We have kind of a 3-tab analytic breakdown up top now that can show spaces or financials or whatnot, or bed statuses. So when you are in one of those tabs, anything you filter on the right, it will reflect there. And actually, even more so, if you do like bulk assigning and you're sorted by partial units, you're only going to see your partial units on the bulk assign. So that's a pretty common thing I get where they say, hey, I only see some of my units on bulk assign, and then I'll find out they have a filter on there, which is desirable for a lot of cases, but you have to make sure you know to clear out your filters if you want to see everything.
I would also like to share real quick just to show that I did it, and I must have deleted the slides. Here are what the budget graphs look like. So like I said, we do have your total budget, your forecasted cost. We'll do a budget health that will kind of measure how it's going versus the uptick in potential additional charges, just to make sure that we are hopefully not trending toward blowing this thing out of the water. We've got your average cost breakdown down here per unit, per bed space. And then, like I mentioned, that last one here, which I think is most important, is that total change order cost, pending change orders versus approved change orders. Again, just as we always harp on these things, this can destroy us if we let it, so we want to make sure we monitor it as much as possible. So these screenshots are my proof that I made the slides and then probably deleted them on accident.
All right, and then one more thing I do, if there's more questions, please let them come in. But one more thing I will say is really important, and this is just from experience, right? We've been, I don't know, on year, I guess, 7 now, turned 7 with EZOS. One thing that we've really noticed, right, and I'm sure this is true even outside of EZOS, but the first day is so critical. I don't know how better to say that. If you guys are still not having turns until the 31st, I tell everyone, don't have your first experience in the app, playing around in the app, making adjustments on your turn board. Don't let the first day be the day that turn kicks off. Get your reps in ahead of time, walk a unit, walk a model, whatever you can do ahead of time. And then I'll even go a step further and say, if you really want, and again, even if we didn't exist, I think it's really important for actual, setting the trend and the pace for your turn, the level of expectation for quality control. But the first 3 or 4 units, that they walk into, you're not walking them all with them, but you go walk into even the first unit with them and say the things you need to say. Hey, make sure all the windows are closed. Things I used to say when I was on site. Make sure all the windows are closed. Make sure it's set to 79. All those basic things. But while you're doing that, just have them open up the app and hit start, right? As you all may or may not know, I always encourage people too to always watch the vendor training video. It's very, very short. It's 5 minutes between 2 videos. You all have it underneath Lori. The vendors have it on their phone. They can watch it, English and Spanish from their phone. But literally watching them click the first couple ones, that success rate is through the roof. If you notice they're not touching it the first couple days, then they got to play catch up, or your site has to aid them in getting back on track. But that small investment of going with them and just watching them hit it, give your spiel, is really, really important. Just as important as it is to walk the unit after they do 2 or 3 versus 20, because then they might be going back to 20 units and doing fan blades versus 3 units. They kind of understand what your standard is. So I just encourage reps in EZOS, and even if we didn't exist, just that back and forth with your vendor is really, really critical. And we've seen it analytically over and over again. If they use it day 1, they'll use it through turn. If they don't use it day 1 or day 2, then of course we have mixed numbers because you can recover. We've built a lot of tools to help you recover in our system, but you miss 5 days out of your 7 days. I mean, it's gonna be tough.
And on that comment, something that we went over yesterday with one of our customers that I think was really helpful is, as you see the work orders progressing, jump onto that site, run the work order transition report. That's a new report that we put out there that will show you of the work orders that have been moved from in progress to complete, complete to approved, all those. It shows you who actually did it. And where that's important is we don't want our GM to be the one doing that. The vendors need to do that, to uphold the integrity of the process and to schedule our walks at appropriate times, but B, we don't want them worn out. This is set up for them to not, for our GMs and our on-site staff to not have to be at their computer clicking all day. So if they give the vendor a pass, let them do their thing and say, I'll take care of this. That's just added work on them at the most crucial time of the year where they cannot have added work. So as your sites are going, even if the work orders look like they're moving and everything looks good, jump on there, run that transition report, and make sure that the vendors are the ones moving those. Otherwise, we're going to make a tired GM more tired.
And vendors can definitely do it. For those that have been around, you probably got to see that evolution early on. People, oh yeah, he is tired. So you'll be able to see that evolution of vendors once they start using it, that they'll continue using it and they'll have more buy-in, as time goes. But it really is true that they can do it. And then of course, I always bring this up. When their vendor doesn't use it, they really do miss out at the vendors who do use it say it's one of their favorite features, which is go backs. Why would you say a vendor's favorite feature is go backs? Here's what vendors don't like. We also talk to vendors. We get reviews, we get surveys to vendors. Vendors' worst case scenario is they do work on the 31st, or let's say August 1st through the 7th. Move-in day is the 15th, and they get a hit list on the 9th. And the site's like, go fix all your stuff. And they've gone several days without even being on site, right? So the go back feature is so clutch, and the real time aspect of it, to be sitting there working in a room and getting a ding on your phone and seeing that you got to go back. Yeah, sure, it's not super fun, but to be able to go knock it out while you have your trim paint out, I always use that example, but while your trim paint's out, to go down the hallway and touch it up and be done with it, then you're moving along the process of being able to invoice, and everything's moving along quicker. So one of the biggest feedback we get from vendors are when they work on sites, and they get a huge go back list with like a day and a half, and they're trying to get all their people back, maybe subs back on site to fix all these things that they thought were good because no one said anything for 7 days. So being able to walk easily on the phone, and then being able to, just make sure that that process is fluid, and it really will make life easier for the GMs on site. So it's really going to change their perspective on the entire process if they're trying to do too much to be nice to their vendors. We love our vendors, but they can absolutely do this. We've seen it thousands of times at this point.
All right. There's no more questions. I think that's it for us. We are readily available. You guys can reach out whenever needed from our side of the fence. Thank you guys for participating. We will be working on Turn 2027 features and updates during Turn 2026. We won't be doing any more updates for this turn, but we will be building in August. If you guys have any suggestions as things are in live practice, feel free to ping us, let us know, and we'll be working on those things. So, appreciate you guys. We'll stay on here if there's any questions that trickle in.
Turning, we're there.
Stay hydrated.
Yes, / caffeinated.
I'm gonna go ahead and end it.